Hey everybody, today we're going to be learning how to solve rational equations using two different methods. The first method that we're going to be learning how to use today is the least common denominator. Basically what that means is the lowest common multiple of the denominators of several different fractions. In this case we have three different fractions, so what's the least common denominator between these three? One of my tips is I factor out the largest number. So x squared plus 3x plus 2, that could just factor out to x plus 1 times x plus 2. And that's what these numbers are. So the least common denominator is x plus 1 times x plus 2. But what does it take to multiply x plus 2 to get x plus 1 to x plus 2? All you have to do is multiply it by x plus 1, but you have to do the same to the denominator. So you have to multiply 3 by x plus 1. After multiplying, we got these numbers in the numerator. What we do next is we cancel out the denominator by just multiplying it, multiplying the whole equation by the denominator. So by doing this, it cancels out all the numbers at the bottom of the fraction. And what we're left with is 3x plus 3 plus 7x plus 14 equals 3. Now, this part's really easy, it's just simple algebra. We combine like terms to get 10x plus 17 equals 3. We subtract 17 from each side, and we're left with 10x equals negative 14 divided by 10, and you get x equals negative 7.5. Now you may think that you'd be done by now, but there's still one little last step, and that's figuring out what numbers don't work in your past equation. And what this means is that if you plug in these specific numbers for x, then it would make the equation no solution, and that would not work. What we do is we set x plus 1 and x plus 2 equal to 0. Basically, in the final answers, you get this. X does not equal negative 1, and x does not equal negative 2. And you combine that with your regular answer in the end. The next method that we're going to be using is called cross multiplying, and that's usually used when there's one fraction on each side. So take this problem. What you have to do is multiply 3 times 7m and 5 times m plus 3, and then you set them equal to each other. So I did that, and that comes out to 21m equals 5m squared plus 15m. And then what you do is you subtract 21m from each side to make the whole problem on one side. And then you factor that. So I took the m out, and that made m times 5m minus 6 equals 0. And then notice how I set it to 0, because what you have to do is you have to solve for m. So what I did first is I think of these as two separate problems. So the m equals 0, and then 5m minus 6 equals 0. So obviously m equals 0. But that's extraneous, because if you multiply 5 times 0 and 7 times 0, that just makes 0 in the denominators, and that's illegal because that makes it no solution. So m equals 0 does not work, but you also have another answer, and that's 5m minus 6 equals 0. You add 6 on both sides, 5m equals 6, divide by 5, and that creates m equals 6/5. And that is correct, because if you plug it in, it's not no solution. It doesn't make the denominator 0. So that's our final answer.